sometimes when working with a two-layered ring and trying to get it to close, you're going to have to anneal it after you've hammered on it a little bit, to try to not force it and end up causing a crack or a break or something in the silver. So the next thing that we're going to do is anneal it. So in order to anneal it, the first thing we have to do is coat the whole thing with flux. So a nice even bit of flux. It's a little too much there. And that's really for two reasons. One is to protect the silver from fire scale. If you can see, there's already a little bit of fire scale on the inside in there. And also to be a temperature gauge so that we'll know when to stop heating it. If we overheat the silver, it could crack, and that would be really bad. Alright, so I have my torch adjusted, and now I'm going to bring it over to the silver. I don't want to overheat this for another reason, and that's because I've already soldered a layer of copper on the top. Or maybe that was brass, I don't know now, but I don't want that to come off. I've got kind of a nice bushy, not bushy, but kind of wide flame that's clear. Alright, now I'm starting to see the flux is running clear, and that is my cue. Flame off. And then let it cool. So you don't ever want to quench hot sterling because that can make it shatter. So make sure it cools down a little bit. How long just depends on how long you've heated it and how big a mass of silver you have to begin with. I'm preparing to solder my ring, and I'm going to use easy solder because I used medium solder already to solder this extra layer of metal on there. That's kind of the design feature. So now I have to go to a lower temperature solder in order to join the two sides together. So everything is perfectly fit now, ready to go. And all I have to do is get some solder and some flux. So I've cut my solder sheet like this, and I'm going to go across. And even though I really probably only need one of these, I'm putting extra, well, I might be able to use two. I'm putting extra ones in case something blows away when I light the torch, because that can happen sometimes. So I have my solder tweezers ready, and a pick, and then I'm going to use liquid flux because what I want to do is take the ring and just pry it apart gently and let that flux seep into it. So if I use the paste flux, I'm not as likely to get it to go down inside the crack. Just open it a little bit, and then it snaps back together because I've already pushed it over and under until I've got that springiness that happens from it being a little bit work hardened. Now, you can solder it with the seam upwards, which is what I'm doing, or you can solder it with the seam down. It doesn't matter. The difference is if I place the solder here, if something goes wrong, the solder is going to stay on the outside, which is where you really want it to be. So it's the crack, if there's a crack, it's not visible. So we hope we don't end up with any kind of crack anyway, but just in case there is one, then we'll be good. So I'm lighting the torch, first the fuel, which in our case is actually natural gas. And slowly add the oxygen. You wouldn't be able to use natural gas just by itself. So I'm going to warm up the flux that I put on there a little bit, and that makes it kind of sticky. And then I can put the solder chip on there, and hopefully that will keep it from coming off. So I got our start by heating it underneath. So from the inside. Then I'm going to go and heat it on the outside. So we don't want to heat the solder directly. We want to heat the two sides that we want to join. And the solder will follow that heat. So it's starting to melt now. I'm going to bring that to the inside. And there, we did it. You can see that the joint is connected now. So we want to let that dry a little bit and cool down before we put it into the pickle. And because I'm using two different metals, I'm going to set aside a separate pickle for that rather than throw it into the silver pickle where the other metal might contaminate it. So that's all there is to it.